I grew up playing video games, and of course, like most of us, there were some games I wasn't allowed to play. Maybe they were too violent, or maybe I just wasn't old enough yet. But that doesn't mean the games I was allowed to play were all sunshine and rainbows. Hidden deep in their code or tucked behind innocent-looking walls or triggered by oddly specific actions, there were moments that straight up scared me. So today we're diving into some of the most disturbing video game Easter eggs of all time. I'm talking secrets that'll make you pause the game, cover your face, and question your whole childhood. Starting out with Luigi's Mansion, which definitely is the darkest game in the Mario franchise. Not only does the game start out with you going through a mansion where a family and their friends used to live, but these were humans, some of them even Italian just like Mario and Luigi, who passed away from eating too much, being struck by lightning while doing their hair, dying during a miscarriage and haunting the room that was meant for you, or even starving to death because your master left you on the leash while they ate themselves to death. But anyways, there's a part of the game where all the power goes out in the mansion, and while you go up to the attic, you hear some ringing from the phone. And as you answer it, lightning flashes showing your shadow hanging from the ceiling. Imagine being in the pitch dark of a haunted mansion and hearing the phone ring somehow when the power's out. Then out of nowhere seeing your shadow dangling from the ceiling. Now I don't know what you would do in this situation, but I'm gonna have to meet bro in another lifetime because I'm no longer a hero after seeing this. Next is Animal Crossing at 3:33 a.m. If you happen to be playing Animal Crossing around 3:30 in the morning in the dark, something weird will start broadcasting on the TVs in your house. Throughout the plethora of this broadcast, I will be translating what's actually being said, and it's creepy. Now it's pretty vague on what they're talking about here, but what they're trying to accomplish is pretty simple. They've taken over the television and they're trying to use it to take over your mind. And of course don't want you to be too panicky about it, so they tell you you're basically gonna go on a great adventure, don't worry. The next disturbing moment takes place in Zelda Ocarina of Time. And if you're someone that's played this game before, you know that you get woken out of your sleep as a little young Link to save the world that's soon gonna be doomed for the next 6+ years. And when you go to Hyrule Castle, everyone's dancing and nobody's aware of it but you, is what you think. Because while everyone's having fun, if you make your way to the back alley, you'll run into what's known as the Dead Guard. A man who spends the last couple seconds of his life talking to you, highly injured, saying, "Are you the boy from the forest? Ganondorf, the king of thieves, betrayed our king. I tried to stop Ganondorf's men from chasing them, but..." He dies in front of this little kid who's only 9 years old. Us during our childhood, and even Link in this situation, couldn't process what just happened here. And that takes us to another somehow child-friendly game called Paper Mario: A Thousand Year Door. In this game, when you go to the Rogue port, things start getting very dark. Because in the middle of the city, not only do they do a thing that I can't really say on this platform called YouTube, but I hope you get what I mean when I say it has something to do with Hangman. But also, there's a thief named Larson who's a notorious bandit who for some reason likes to hide in the hidden alleys. And when you go into his house, you find a crime scene of where a dead toad was once at. This is made obvious as there's blood on the ground, and real-life detectives use the same exact methods for homicide cases. This was later cut out in the remake of the game, but for my childhood, it wasn't. Here's another Zelda game, and it's Majora's Mask, and it has to do with the UFO farm called Romani Ranch. When you arrive at this farm, at first glance, it's very peaceful looking. And then things start getting creepy because you find out that both of the two little girls that own this farm, their parents passed away, leaving Romani, the younger sister, and Crimea, the older, to run the ranch. And that's when you start to find out that the ranch every year is invaded by aliens. And as Romani is preparing for it along with Link, the older sister doesn't believe it at all. The game is already eerie enough as everyone's about to die as a creepy face looking moon is about to destroy everyone. But anyways, as the aliens show up at night to try to take the cows, what happens after if you fail will traumatize you, especially if you're a kid. When Romani gets abducted along with the cows, she's gone the whole night. And the next day when you come back, she's there. But this time, not knowing of what you're talking about, blank in the face, and acting very, very weird compared to before when she was very jolly. She seems very traumatized and is walking very slow, as if she was experimented on. And to end it off, her older sister says Romani doesn't remember what happened, which is utterly horrifying. I don't know about you, but I restarted the game to fix my wrong. What's even crazier about these aliens is that they're inspired by a real-life UFO sighting called the Flatwoods Monster. Next is the Mario 3D Land Ghostface. If you blink, you might miss it. In most various occasions on a haunted map, you could find a very scary figure that looks very similar to the Momo creepypasta. And whatever the creature is, it's very tall and it follows you throughout the whole game. Now, the next one takes place in Sonic CD, which ironically is the first Dark Sonic game, no pun intended, where we not only get a glimpse of what happens if the villain wins in the future, but we also see what he does to accomplish that. It's not pretty. But continuing on, you'll get one of the first creepypastas in Sonic history by going to the sound test area in the game. By entering the numbers 46, 12, and 25, this happens. Very much a mystery on why Sonic's face looks this creepy and why Sega implemented this into the game. The text after translating it says Infinite Fun Sega Enterprises, and the only conclusion that fans can come up with is that this is one of the developers who've put their face on Sonic so that their face could be recognized. Now these next Easter eggs would have you as a kid like, what the was that? There was a game called Army Men that came out a long time ago, and you probably have had their toys before, or even recognized them from being in Toy Story. And of course, you would play as soldiers getting deployed on missions, and if you were so happened adventurous, finding places that would let you know the developers had way too much fun when developing this game. But one hidden area traumatized a lot of kids when traversing the land back then, and it would happen when you go under this small little patch in a trench area, then go past the bush, and you'll find this horrifying looking picture. It looks like someone has had surgery on their brain, but the quality is so low, it doesn't even look like that. Nobody till this day knows what this actually is and just chalked it up to just the developers having fun in Photoshop. If you're a fan of Splatoon, you might have seen this one coming. And we're going to be covering two games. First, in the original Splatoon. After defeating bosses or in the boss stage before you fight the boss, you can hear some very creepy sounds going on in the background. Now, on one hand, this does take place before a boss fight, so it could be there to enhance the player's anticipation or retention. But on the other hand, fans speculate that this could be screaming inklings or octolings, because the sound has to be coming from something alive. Next, in Splatoon 3, Inklings and Octolings, if you didn't know by now, are tasked with taking down salmonid species. These creatures come straight out of the water, a place where Ink and Octlings could not survive. And basically during the events called Big Run, these cities and marines are basically attacked by these creatures. And there's these king salmonids that do this incredibly scary scream. And don't judge them by their looks because they're very intelligent and actually attack every 70 to 75 years because they want the golden eggs. And the saddest thing about these runs is that there's a limited amount of people fighting a whole army of these things. If you do end up getting out, you can get revived, but only so many times, and there's a weird alarm that plays as well. And whether or not you believe that some things are just game mechanics, listen to what you can hear while sitting in the lobby and what realistically could be going on in the back. I don't know what's worse, hearing the salmonids' voices of screaming from a distance, or knowing that that one player alarm could actually be Inklings dying, and there's only one more left. Getting beaten up, or even worse, dragged underwater. If you're one of those people that think that salmonids don't eat Inklings, just think about it. They're very aggressive towards each other and are very unpredictable. Who's to say they don't eat each other, or the Octolings and Inklings? Next here is Splashdown on the PS2. This was known as a cool, calm, and collected racing game against your friends on the water. But one night, someone got tired while playing with their friend and went off track, far too off track. Now you may not believe me when I say this, but I'd rather be in space than be alone in the middle of the ocean. Imagine being on a water jet and you start to see a dark, huge circle form from under you, and a huge tentacle hand grabs you by your cheeks and throws you miles across the ocean like you're a pebble. This childhood trauma is one of the reasons why I don't do cruises. Next, I'm sure plenty of you played Plants vs. Zombies, and you also know about the tall man in the woods, Slenderman. This character had so much dark aura back then that there was a real-life case where girls actually unalived their friend for Slenderman because they thought he was real, like many others. And that's why seeing him in Plants vs. Zombies for the first time ever was so terrifying. If you were to go to one of the ends of the woods, you'll see him standing there and out of bounds. And later on, if you were to come back, surprisingly, he's getting eaten by a chomper. To be fair, you're probably thinking to yourself, this Easter egg is actually funny, but it's only funny if you come back and see the aftermath, which most people didn't. They stayed far away as they could. Now, to warn you, the next Easter eggs coming up may give you PTSD and are very eerie in that part. Now, this is a game that takes place in Gotham, so it's very dark, and we're talking about Batman Arkham VR. In this game, you get a first-person perspective of what it means to be Batman and what it looks like to be in his shoes. And as the game comes to a climax, this disturbing audio plays in your ears of Joker and Jason Todd. What you're hearing right now is the Joker torturing Jason Todd, a Robin that worked under Batman as his sidekick and unfortunately was captured by the Joker. For almost 2 years, he would be electrocuted by him, fed dead rats, tortured and beaten up to the brink of death by all of Batman's villains, and they wouldn't stop until he begged them to end him. And the saddest thing about it all is that Batman was sent all of these videos throughout the months and still couldn't find him. And Jason died the final day he found him. Rest in peace. Remember Subnautica from 2018? As if being on the surface of the ocean alone was bad, being deep in the middle of the ocean is worse. And one of the scariest things about this game is that if you were to travel all the way past the main area and go out of bounds, it would start with the ship pleading for you to go back. Then everything starts to get super dark and you start to hear loud noises, the engines start to fail, and that's when you'll see a creature that will literally scare you out of your seat, the Ghost Leviathan. Imagine playing in your room alone at night, in the dark, and this pops up on your screen. I'm grateful the next game's gonna be multiplayer. Subscribe so you don't miss out on the cartoon disturbing Easter eggs. And don't forget to trick or treat in the description, ladies and gentlemen. God bless all of you people. I'll see you again. Peace.